Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. I'm here with the American Texan. How you doing?
Howdy, howdy, John. Howdy, everyone watching. I'm doing fantastic. Appreciate you having me today.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I. For those of you who wonder what's going on, why am I doing all these different times? I've been. This is my normal time that I've been doing for years, and then I work. They were like, "Do you want to do the afternoon shift?" So you don't want to be known as the guy who says no, so you say yes. How long is it going to last? A couple of weeks. So I was working on one job for a couple of weeks. It was nice. It was all overtime, and then that job ended, and construction workers, we go from job to job to job to job to job. So I go to another job, and I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be great to be back on a normal shift. It was right at the afternoon shift. I was like, it's good money, but man, so they kept saying, oh, it's only gonna be a couple of weeks. A couple of weeks in construction means forever. We all see the money pit. 2 weeks means forever. And now they tell us February it's going to end, but then they stopped it right before Christmas. So in February, I'll probably be back on. That's too long-winded of an answer to say this is why I'm no longer doing the midnight, but who knows? So long story short, I haven't been booking guests because I hate it when I tell them a time and then we got to switch. That happened to Alsmat. I booked him for a time and then everything switched. So Texan asked, hey, can I come on and talk? I said, yeah, tomorrow. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was ready for a 12 o'clock show. I was like, hey, we'll do 12 o'clock. We'll do
Yeah,
midnight.
well,
I'll,
I thank
I'll do
thank you
whatever.
because it's hard to do a talk show when I don't have guests to talk to because I haven't been scheduling any guests, and I forget about going after big time comic book pros because that would just be so bad to book them on a time and then have to change. You know what I mean? So I need to get back on a regular long term work schedule before I can start doing that again. But anyway, with that the preambles out of the way, how you doing? What's going on?
Not a mucho, not much. Appreciate everyone joining in the chat here. I had this idea, John. I just messaged you out of the blue. I've been a fan of the Patriarch. I've been listening to you for a couple years now since I really started getting
Thank
back into
you.
comics. And you did that show a few months ago with the interview with a newbie comic collector, and y'all talked a lot about the stuff that he was reading and kind of how he got into the hobby. I think through his wife or his girlfriend. And I
Yeah.
thought, well, it'd be kind of a cool. I'd consider myself an intermediate. So I said, hey, let's get on and talk about it. And John, honestly, my Sundays have been more empty without you and your
Oh,
regular streams because
thank you.
usually I save all your streams and I'll listen on Sunday when I'm outside with the dog or just cleaning around the house. And
Oh, that's nice.
it's really cool to be here. So I appreciate you having
I
me
do
on.
the same thing. Like with uh, I find like a lot of YouTube channels. Some of them are just gems, and like I clear off. Like I was driving to work an hour there and an hour back. So every day I would have 10 hours a week just be in my car listening to Chuck Dixon or whoever. And I kind of now I'm on the train and I put the headphones on, I turn on the thing and instantly asleep. So I don't. So I'm trying to find time to watch my favorite. But long story short, I've been listening to less and less people because it's just devolving into the comic book channels aren't interested in comic books.
Yeah.
That's why I like your channel where you said no drama. We're just going to talk about comics. And Adam Lawson is the most enthusiastic comic book guy out there, but his videos are like 3 minutes long. So you're like, okay, now what? You know, so it's getting harder and harder to find interesting, fun, positive comic book people. So, like I said, might as well bring it up. You have a YouTube channel,
Hmm.
American Texan Reads, and you just talk about you still go to the comic book store. So
Hmm.
again, I'm going to set up what we were going to talk about. Heather Vele did a comic called The Next Evolution, and I just think I think it's an important comic. She's a beginner. I think she's at issue 3 of her comic. I think the premise is so good. But anyway, she mentioned that her boyfriend was a newbie. He only got into comics, so that I said it would be kind of fun. Let's talk to him about comics. And then you were like, let's talk to an intermediate. You're more than an intermediate, though. I mean, you got a YouTube channel. You buy it at the comic book store. You buy crowdfunded comics. So give yourself more credit. So
I
again, I'm
appreciate
long
that.
winded. Take it away.
Yeah, so I started reading actually in 2012, right when Marvel Now started. So essentially, I started on Twinkies and Yo-Hos of comic books, so to speak. You got to live through the steak and potatoes era. I started with not realizing exactly how great comics could be, but really, I was just super enjoying the MCU. I was really getting into it. I was collecting some figurines here and there, but I thought, I really want to see what the original source material is. What is this all about? We joke that it's like the Baptist in me. Like, I'll listen to a sermon, but I want to actually read what you're saying in the Bible. If it's not in the Bible, I ain't going to listen to you. And so that's kind of the joke that we have. That's why I have such a problem with a lot of us nerds here, right? Like, we want the movies, the animations, we want the stuff on the screen to reflect what's in the source material. Well, I wanted to go to the source material. So at my job, I had a friend that was well-versed in comics, had been reading comics a long time. He let me borrow understanding comics, or how to read comics, that
Scott
main
McCloud
book there. Yeah, by the McCloud. And I really enjoyed it. And I was like, hey, show me more. So he started taking me to the comic shop, America's Heroes Comics in Killeen, Texas. And I started going every week, and I jumped in. It was Marvel Now, so it was a good time to jump in. And I was really only interested in Iron Man. So I started with Iron Man. I was reading the Avengers, which also meant that I was kind of jumping into what Jonathan Hickman was writing for Avengers and New Avengers. I was kind of introduced to the Illuminati. I was checking the wiki every day to see who all these characters were that weren't in the movies, and learning, exactly what was making them, their decades of history that hadn't come on screen yet, or were different than what were in the movies. And I read all the way up through Secret Wars. And then I enjoyed all of Hickman's stuff inside of Secret Wars, but I was really only reading just a few issues a week. That's really all we had the budget for. Maybe $20 a week was my budget. And every once in a while I'd grab, something that looked good on the shelf. I had a pull list, but again, it was just Iron Man and Avengers is all that was. After Secret Wars, as you and I'm sure many of your audience knows, Marvel did not a reboot, I don't even know if a soft reboot, but they started swapping characters, right? So Iron Man was dead, so we got Riri Williams. Sam Wilson became Captain America. Even the Hulk, they were trying to push Amadeus Cho, and I don't have a problem with any of those characters. It's just not what really got me into it. At the same time that was happening, my wife wanted to go to grad school. And so we picked up and moved, and we became a single income family because I was just doing all the work and my wife was doing school. So we, really had to tighten down the budget. So I sold my long box. I had just enough comics to fill a long box because I didn't want to move it. Sold it, packaged up all my figurines and stuff that I had collected. I had collected a full Marvel Legends Iron Man set that had like Iron Man, Iron Patriot, a few different Iron Man armors. And then when you get them all together, the Marvel Legends, they come with one piece of another figurine. Yeah. And so then that created like a giant Ironmonger. So that was really cool. I kept that, but we had to downgrade because we were downgrading our house. We were moving, picking up things.
I don't have kids, and I haven't had this circuit, but I understand, like, once you have children and then you look at your toy collection and you're like, this is kind of silly. I got to get rid of it. I have big plastic tubs full of figures, and they're just taking up space in the garage. They're not on display, and like I got like every Doctor Who figure and everything, and now I'm kind of like embarrassed by Doctor Who, and I'm like, there's retro places down. I should just bring tubs and just sell them all, But I can't do it because I'm a shit hoarder. But yeah, I understand.
There's nothing wrong with that. And for me, it was mainly about the storage because actually all my stuff was displayed in my office. I had my own office that actually used to be a library. So there were no walls in the office. It was just library shelves.
Yep.
So I had plenty of room for one room storage.
We had a one bedroom apartment, and I had my computer, and then all the walls were just toys.
Yeah. That's how my office was. So when we moved and downgraded, I didn't have the capacity to take all that stuff with me. So I sold most of it, kept a few, like maybe a little tote of figurines. And of course, again, I was just reading Marvel. I didn't really have too much interest in DC. As a concept, I still like Marvel characters more. I like the idea of humans trying to be gods rather than gods trying to be humans. But where they were headed, it just had no interest for me. So it was kind of like, all right, we're leaving. And it wasn't just budget. It was also, budget, and they're just not telling stories that I really like.
Okay, so let me ask you this question then, because you're right at this time that I find so, because I quit Marvel right after Secret Wars 3, the Hickman one. Mm-hmm. Like they pretty much did a soft reboot of Marvel, and I was like, that's a good jumping off place. And then DC, I quit DC at the New 52. So I think both of them were 2015. So if correct me if I'm wrong, you got into the movies first, and then from the movies you started getting to the comics. Now, were you confused at all? And B, when you started, oh, Thor, and then you walked to the comic shop and it's Jane Foster as Thor. How did you feel? Did you feel like tricked that the characters in the comics weren't the characters in the movie?
I came in right before all that really happened. I remember actually I pulled Mighty Thor because I thought that was an interesting concept at the time. That Thor, it was Secret Wars, right? No, or Original Sin. It was Original Sin. Nick Fury whispered in Thor's ear, and Thor couldn't lift the hammer. And then mysteriously, 6 months, a year down the line, some woman was masquerading as Thor, and Thor became Odinson. And I thought that was actually an interesting story. Now, looking back at it, and after the run, eventually I did drop it because I was like, this isn't going anywhere. But I thought it was interesting at least. So I came in right before that. We still had Tony Stark. We still had Bruce Banner. We still had old man white Nick Fury in Original Sin, especially. He was baller in that one. And so I came in right before all that stuff started switching. And again, that is kind of where the bait and switch happened, though, is after Secret Wars. Yeah, I had been reading for about 3 to 4 years after that point. That's when it was like the characters I came for are dead or just pushed to the sideline. And that's where, again, it was kind of like, there's just nothing for me here.
DC did that like a decade earlier. They swapped out Hal Jordan for Kyle Rayner, and then Barry Allen for Wally West, and they ended up bringing him back. So I just don't understand Marvel. It's got to be the biggest mishandling in the history of comic books. I mean, this Axel Alonso, the more I think about it, I think he was the worst editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics in history. He just bumbled it. Like, you got billion-dollar movies, and my friend who ran the comic book store that I was going to at the time, he used to say at least once a week a family would come in. And like, yeah, we just saw the new Marvel movies. My kid wants to get Captain America. And then Sam Wilson, like, who's this? That's not the guy in the movie. Okay, let's get Thor. Oh, Thor's a woman, and she has cancer. Oh, okay. What's Iron Man? Well, it's a 14-year-old black girl. Okay, what about the Hulk? Oh, it's a teenage Chinese guy.
So we actually went through that recently. My daughter really got into the Spider-Man movies last year, and I was already kind of well established at my comic shop. We can get to that point in my story later, but my daughter was like, "Hey, I'm interested in." She likes graphic novels. She's read some comic books before. She likes even some of the crime.
How old is she?
She's 11 now.
Okay.
Or is she 12? She's 11 or 12. Ask her mom or ask my wife. But she's very interested in that. So she'll see things in the movie theaters. For example, she loved Superman. So I got her a few of the new DC Finest Supermen, and she's been enjoying those. But when she was really interested in Spider-Man, and specifically the new Tom Holland movies, and we're slowly going back and watching the other Spider-Man movies that came out when I was growing up, we went to the comic shop, and she's like, well, what do I want to read? And I'm like, well, the only thing that I know to recommend is like Kraven's Last Hunt, but even that might be a little more quote unquote advanced for you. But I can't let you read modern day Spider-Man because he's just a pathetic sap. He's just a pathetic divorced man, and he's just getting his butt kicked every week, it seems, or every 2 weeks because it's bi-weekly.
At that point, I would just take her to the dollar bins and just get old Spider-Mans.
And so what I actually did was because the thing too is my daughter, just the age group that is, she doesn't like floppies. I'll get and I love floppies. I love that style. And in fact, I even like messaged Rippaverse in a survey they did, like, hey, how can we make our books better? I'm like, give me a floppy option. I don't want to read this 70-page trade. Like, let me get it in 4 floppies. I would love that style. I would pay extra money for that. But anyways, so she doesn't like the floppy style. In fact, when I have a series that I think she'll like, and she says, well, just give it to me when I'm done, and then she'll just read it all in one go. So I actually got to take advantage, which is why it's good to still have, a good relationship with your LCS, your local comic shop. Because I just went up to our local comic shop owner and I said, hey, my daughter's interested in Spider-Man, but she, I don't think she's going to be interested in anything happening right now or anything even that I read, in the few that I read in the mid 2010s. So she said, oh, you want a young Spider-Man? And I said, yeah, young Spider-Man. And so she went through, because it's an actual comic shop, John. I mean, you would love this place. I mean, it's wall to shelves across. I mean, it's gorgeous, this comic shop that we get to go to. So she went through all the trades and picked out a few that had some like younger Spider-Man stories and got me a good one that she's really enjoying reading. So, yeah, I mean, that's something that we had to go through where we like what's happening in the movies, but you go to the comic shop and it's a totally different landscape.
The the uh, the Spider Girl stories, I know that they're all collected, and not those. It's not because it's a girl, but those were really good for young readers.
That's what I hear
They
too.
were
Yeah.
continuity heavy, and they were just fun action stories, and it wasn't like modern Marvel where it's a girl, so it's just people sitting there. Like she had problems. They were written by Tom DeFalco in the '90s, and they sold like gangbusters. And for whatever reason, they canceled that line. I think they do when they got rid of Tom DeFalco, they just wanted to get rid of everything that he did. But I would recommend those for anybody. I love them.
That was is that the one that was in an alternate universe and it was May
yes,
Parker?
it was like
was Spider Girl.
yeah, it was called M2, and
Okay.
it was like Marvel 10 years in the future, and it had like the next Avengers and the Son of the Juggernaut, and they were really good. And I normally don't like Elseworld, what ifs, alternate takes on comic, but the M2 just captured to me like 80s Marvel. I mean, it was Tom DeFalco and all old school guys, so I would recommend that for anybody.
Yeah, check
Just
that
jump into Spider Girl. There's no continuity that you really need to know. Peter Parker is injured, so he can't be Spider-Man anymore, and he has a daughter that's it's she can't play basketball because she's got spider powers. She's like she quits the team and everybody's mad at her, but she can't tell why. It's good, but that's
So,
good. The 11-year-old kid that's into comics. That's like I got hundreds. I'm exaggerating, of course. No exaggeration. I've got about 53 nieces and nephews. Not one of them reads comics. They all read manga.
Yeah, she hasn't gotten into manga. I haven't. I haven't. I have a couple books, but I start going through and I'm like, I'd rather be reading comics right now. But yeah, I think it has to do with I mean, like it or not, and I don't think you have an issue with it. Things like Dogman and there's another one. Not the Babysitters Club, but there's another one that's a graphic novel, and it's in all the Scholastic book fairs, which that's a whole nother thing. I don't let her buy books unless I actually open it up and look through it. But there's some good ones out there. But Dogman is kind of an auto buy. It's huge at RLCS. Our RLCS will buy a what do you call that? A floor stand of Dogman books, and it sells out by the weekend. So I mean, the kids love it, and so
Yeah.
I like that it gets them used to that format. And yeah, she doesn't like the floppies. Maybe that's just something of day gone
It's a
by.
generational thing.
And, it's a generational thing. Or she
I
just
tell
doesn't
you,
like waiting.
I did a video maybe a year ago about Dogman because at the time people like would bag it on Dogman. So I couldn't speak about it. I didn't know anything about it. So I got the first Dogman, a hardcover book. I read it. And I made a video. Dogman's a comic book. It's a comic book. It's not sold at your local comic book store, but where it's sold doesn't make it a comic book. It's words and pictures. It's graphic storytelling and I thought it was great. Like it's little kids are getting and reading a comic book. So I think it's wonderful that it's selling.
Yeah, and I think that's the next hurdle that comics has to figure out is like it just seems like kids want the complete story. Like they're raised on Netflix, they can get the whole season at once. They don't have to wait. Like we did growing up, even like appointment television. My dad sent me a message and was like, "Hey, tell your son that Paw Patrol is having a Christmas special tonight at 7:30." And I'm like, he's not going to understand that. Be in front of the TV at 7:30, or you're going to miss this special show. It's like that doesn't compute for them.
It's
So
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah,
that,
I mean,
that we were raised on. If you like, Star Wars is on TV. And it's 8:00. And if you miss it, you're not going to get another chance for a year. When I was a kid, there was no VHSs. That was like something rich people had. So like you missed it. That was it. Star Wars Christmas special. I remember like I was in a panic because my parents were going someplace and I had to go with. I'm like, no, Star Wars Christmas special. I sat in my room. I had to promise that I wasn't going to do anything. I sat in front of the TV because that was it. And then it was never on again because it was that bad.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I spent the night at my grandmother's house, and I didn't want to leave the next day. And my dad was like, "Hey, the Power Rangers special is on tonight at 7, and you can't watch it here." And I'm like, "All right, let's go." And it was like, hey,
Yes, I didn't even think about that. So kids,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The first time my daughter, when she was real young, went to our grandmother's house, she had satellite TV, and that was the first time my daughter saw commercials. So she was watching her favorite show, and then on Disney or whatever it was, Nickelodeon, and then a commercial comes up. She literally said, "What is this?" we said it's a commercial, and she's like, I don't want to watch this. I want to watch Paw Patrol or whatever it was. And we had to, try to tell her like, you got to watch this or go get a drink or something. Thankfully they still had pause and rewind and fast forward. But yeah, I mean, it's a totally different thing that these kids are growing up with. So I think that's the next hurdle, is to figure out, how do you get these kids interested? Because after our generation and barely my generation, monthly ongoings, reading a chapter a month, and if it's not in like a Substack or a digital form, you have to go get it. I think that's the next thing that they got to figure out. At least with printed, I just do print. I don't like reading digital.
And it's expensive too. Think about it.
It is.
What is a Marvel comic right now? How much do you pay?
Yeah, $4 or $5 depending on. Yeah,
the book. So $4.
Unless it's a Hickman, then it's like $7 or $8.
Yeah, so let's just say $4, and it's a 6-issue arc. That's $36 for a story.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and you don't even know if you're going to like it. That's the other thing too.
Yeah,
it's brand new. I mean, that's why we're paying so much attention to writers, right? Like when I talk to people at my LCS, and I'm like, hey, I after this writer leaves, I want to remove this from my pull. And they're like, why? And I'm like, you love whoever it is. And I'm like, I don't like the writer that they're putting on it. It doesn't sound interesting to me. I think that's why we have to we've evolved from following a character, I think, from outside observation, to following writers and artists too, for the people that enjoy the medium for the art. And that's a tough investment. That's a tough swallow. $4. I mean, that's a Starbucks cup of coffee. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
we take it for granted. Like old, like here, I'm just 12 cents.
Yeah,
it was basically free. Little kids could afford 12-cent comic books. Like it was like, and then they were on newsstands. Like your mom went to go get cigarettes. I mean, I literally remember going to 7-Eleven, my mom would buy a pack of Kent Kings in the soft pack, $1.75. She would get a quarter change. She would hand me the quarter. I'd go get a comic book off the newsstand. That ain't going to happen now. Like you got to wake up and just like new people, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to get involved into a hobby that I have to find a place that sells these things. The barrier to entry to comic books is really, really tough. And I love comic book stores, but I never thought about that. The direct market was the death of comics,
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a lot of things. I don't think it's just one thing. But yeah, the direct market is definitely an issue, because I mean, there's specialty boutique shops for everything. So it's not just the fact that I have always to drive out of
whenever
my way
I
to
say
get
that,
a comic
somebody's
book.
going to comment 6 months when they see this video. There will always be comic book stores. I don't need to talk about my friend.
Yeah. And I don't think it's that, but I mean, it's a lot of different things, I think, that are all adding up. And yeah, I mean, it is expensive to get. For $4. You can buy a whole pack of trading cards, and you could hit a $20 trading card in there. Whereas, comic books, I mean, you're getting one chapter of a story, or you could wait and get the whole story for even less. If it's Marvel, $25, which is way too much for a trade. But if it's something indie, you can get them as low as $10 all the way up to $18 for an indie trade.
And if you wait a year, those trades will be on sale for $6 in a bin.
Yeah, maybe. Or if you're like me, you wait till a consignment sale, and you get real good deals.
Yeah, I remember at Free Comic Book Day, I always go down, and they got long boxes of like trade paperbacks. Everything in here is $5, and you can get Craven's Last Stand, or whatever. 11 issues of the Micronauts for $5.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, yeah, but that's hit or miss. I don't know. I love going to comic book stores, and it's really sad because there's a comic book store down the block from me, and I go in there and there's a big sign, buy 10 new comics, get 5 free.
Oh man. I would love that.
I couldn't even find 10 comics that I wanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you're paying full price for 10 comics. That was $50.
Yeah, that's $50. That's,
you know what I mean? I'm like, I don't want to spend $50 just to get $25 more of comic books that I don't even want. So I end up taking that $50, going to the back issue bins,
Yeah. Yeah, you get a lot more. And the other thing too, I think there's a social aspect to it. It used to be that everyone was reading comics, so you always had someone to talk about it with. But now there's so few people that want to talk about comics, especially in real life, right? You can go online and find your niche, find your group. But the kids are just not talking about that. So if you got $5 or even $20, say you want to buy 4 comics, well, you can buy 20 Roblox and be the most popular kid on the computer that day. So I think socialness has to do a part of it as well. And some of the storytelling, they say, Superman is my dad's superhero, or Spider-Man is someone my dad like. He's not cool like Dogman or whatever. So I mean, they want their own original IPs, and there's not much out there. Even the stuff that Marvel and DC are trying for the young kids is just lame. It really is just lame. It has no interest for these kids. So they want to go to those more original IPs. That's what attracts me to the indies. When I started reading comics again and going to the comic shop, I was trying everything because I was trying to broaden my horizons and read more than just Marvel. And man, indies, most weeks I buy more indie books than Marvel and DC. Which, yeah, if you had told me 10 years ago that would be the case, I'd be like, I wouldn't even have known what indie books were. But those are my favorites.
Well,
for sure.
I find that I as much as I'm into comic books, I'm into board games, and then I used to be into record collecting. As you can see, I kind of have a problem with hoarding stuff. And when back in the 80s and 90s, when I was at the peak of my record collecting, it was you get into the major labels, Electro Records, and oh yeah, and then you find out all the major bands on that, and then you're reading an interview with Electro Records, the Doors. Oh, the Doors, contemporaries were Iggy Pop and the Stooges. You're like, oh, what's Iggy Pop and the Stooges? And then you find out Iggy Pop and the Stooges, and then next thing you know, I'm listening to the Velvet Underground, and now I'm collecting 45 from garage bands from the UK. It's that's just a rabbit hole. But but that's fun. You start out big, so I never bust a newbie's chops. The only time I get annoyed is when the newbie like one of my friends, I forget what comic he read, but he read this Batman comic, and it was the greatest comic ever written. And anytime comic books came up, he would interrupt people, and it was just like, what are the odds that you read 4 comic books in your life and they were all the greatest comic books that were ever written, but he didn't know anything else. But that's the only time I get annoyed with newbies is when they, like I don't. I never heard of Frank Miller. What did Frank Miller? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like how everyone is a Monopoly expert right now with the Netflix and DC thing. It's like, right. I didn't realize everyone was so well studied in the economics of Monopoly.
What do you think about it? I said, I kind of just found out about it. Like it's really weird for a guy that's on YouTube. I don't pay attention. I didn't really know, and I don't have an opinion because honestly, I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't. Yeah, that's like asking me about your ex-girlfriend's getting married. Like, good for her. Like, she's not part of my life anymore. So I don't watch Netflix. I don't care about any of these properties anymore. So it's probably bad. It's never good.
Yeah, it's gotten a little tough to talk to my dad too because he'll tell me, he's like, hey, did you see this show? And I'm like, no. And he's like, what about this movie? Did you go see this? I'm like, no. And he's like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, I read comic books and I play a trading card game. Like, that's most of my
what trading card game do you play?
It's a brand new game called Wonders of the First.
It's never heard of it.
Brian Tinsman, who did a lot of the Magic sets that I actually played in the mid 2000s, I think. So he's got this new game, and it's a lot of fun. Set 2's coming out in February. So I spent a lot of time, and I've actually gotten into competing with it too. So I've had a lot of fun with that. We play online on Tabletop Simulator.
I love Magic. I played Magic in the early 90s a lot, and
this game right now is like early Magic because it just came out in March, and it basically takes a lot of the things that bug people, or bug me at least, with Magic. There's no winning on turn 2 or 3. It's played across 7 rounds or 7 realms, so it's like a game of baseball. You got to play all 9 innings. Okay. You got to play all 7 rounds, and in each realm there's a stone. And so the game is not to just, hey, can I get 20 points off of you and win in turn 2 or lock you out or, whatever. The game is, I have to capture more stones than you do. So it's a battle that's back and forth. And then unlike Magic, where you just have mana and you just go until you run out of mana or actions or whatever, it's turn-based like a board game. So I'll take a turn, or I'll take an action, you take an action. I'll take an action, you take an action.
When the stone's captured, you go to the next realm?
No, you keep going until you're out of action. So each player gets 3 actions per round.
Oh, so there's 21 turns?
Basically, but of course you can manipulate it. You can gain actions, you can have free actions, you can take away actions.
My problem with Magic is usually the guy with the deeper pockets wins because he buys the more expensive cards and everything like that. And I'm like, I know I'm a compulsive collector, so I just was like, I'm done with Magic.
That one. I mean, that's one of the things that this game solved, because it ain't over until it's over. A lot of the games, you get an early lead, but then you kind of fall behind because you run out of steam. Then the other person catches up, and then it comes down to the draw. And then there's not a lot of counters. It's not like, oh, I finally get to play my favorite spell, and they just counter. I hate playing blue decks. It's called Wonders of the First.
Wow.
And set 2 comes out in February. That's kind of going to kind of be the
Did
best
you ever
time to
play
jump in.
Legend of the Five Rings card game?
No, I didn't.
Because one of my friends was into that because he knows I'm not. Well, we're both like we're not going to get into Magic. It's nuts. But so he bought this, and I just thought it was complicated for the sake of complications. Like where Magic is complicated, but it made sense to me. Oh
Yeah.
man, it's a Japanese mythology game. I really like the story, but anyway, that as you can see, I got board games behind me. I'm a board
Yeah.
game.
Oh yeah. I love board games. I just opened one. No, we just played it last night. We just played the game of Have you heard of that one? It's supposedly the world's
Yeah,
oldest game.
yeah.
Yeah, I just played that with my wife, and she was kind of rolling her eyes, like, I got to roll these D4s. We call them D4s, but they're tetrahedral dice or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, by the end of it, we were like intense because we just wanted a quick 30-minute game over dinner, and we were like sweating towards the end. And that game is my favorite, like traditional board game. So that game was I really enjoyed that game.
So what? Somebody modern came up with the rule set for it because we don't know the real rules.
Yeah, the instruction book said that like they found a clay tablet that had the illustrations, and this is kind of based off of context clues. This is how they think the game was played. And I mean, it is a lot like backgammon. I totally believe after playing it. Now, granted, we just played one game, but I totally believe that like this game is what evolved into backgammon.
I do you follow Sandy Peterson on Twitter?
Yes, actually, because of your recommendation.
Yeah, he's my favorite person on Twitter. It's just interesting, funny, charming, and then a lot of board game and video game stuff. No comics. He's not a comic book fan in the slightest. Not that he hates them, he just doesn't know anything about it. But he was saying that there was an original chess game of 4 people, and then there was die rolling. I want to find out about that game because I can't stand chess. And whenever I tell people I'm into board games, they're like, "Oh, chess!" I'm like, a lot of guys at work will bring a cheap little chess set and I'll play at lunchtime, and I'm like, I don't want to play. I just can't stand chess.
Yeah, I'm not a huge. I like risk mitigation games. I think that's why I like trading card games. I like deck building and risk mitigation. So you have a strategy, like for example backgammon, but it all comes down to the roll of the dice and how do you mitigate? Where do you put your tokens or chips? Where do you put those? So you can mitigate good rolls or bad rolls or good rolls that your opponent might get. With chess, all the information's on the board, and some people like that. But for me, it's like there's no guesswork. It's just it's all skill, and that's a fine skill to have.
Right.
But I like the randomness in it.
Well, I like tactical games as opposed to strategy games. Like I'm not a long term. Like you play chess, you're thinking 12 moves ahead. I'm the kind of guy that's like I'm daydreaming about birds or something like that, and then it's my turn. Okay, I take advantage of that's tactics as opposed to strategy. I just don't have the concentration to play chess. And I also like a game with theme. Like when I'm done playing a game, I like to think of it as a story.
I'm
like,
the same way.
Your armies invaded my armies, and we held off Australia, and Wolverines, and we overcame, and with luck we diminished you until we could advance. That kind of stuff. Like chess, you don't tell a story when you're done playing chess or checkers or
those are it's like a card game. You're just playing to win, get the most points. I definitely like a theme, and it's one of the things that I think is charmingly annoying about me. I think with my family, whenever we open a new board game, I have to read the thematic entry in the rule book. Like before we get into the rules, I have to read, okay, you're an 18th century merchant collecting gems and you're trying to get the best gem store, and my wife is like, just get to the rules.
Have you ever
want to set the scene?
You ever played the board game Lords of Waterdeep?
No, I haven't.
A lot of people don't like it. It's a dry game, but it's Dungeons and Dragons in reverse. You are the guy that sends the party out to adventure.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So you're the guy, like you're the king, like go out into the dungeons, and it's a worker placement game, and it's pretty dry. And if you buy the game, it comes with little cubes and everything. I of course bought all the upgrades to it, so I got metal money and little wooden pieces that look like wizards and stuff like that. And then you read the card, and it's basically turn in 4 red cubes, and then you get this much money and this much reward. And it's really so. Whenever I play the game, I'm like, give me the card, and I read all the flair. Tell the story. The wizards went out and they fought the mind flayers, and But really, it's just spend 4 black cubes, 1 blue cube, a red cube, get this much money, and then put the card in this stack. It counts as points. So you could make it as dry as you want, or you could be like me and annoy your family and tell the story. Come on, man. You just said
Yeah,
women to their
I mean, to me that makes it exciting. Like another game we enjoy, me and my wife play is Sagrada, which
Yes,
is
the
a
Grotto's
dice
a fun
drafting
game.
game. And I'm just coming up with like, well, why didn't I get this one piece here? Why is there an empty space? And I'm like, oh, I just couldn't find any more yellow
The
die.
Grotto is one of the exceptions to the rule. There's no, well, you make it stained glass windows, right? That's the
Yeah,
game I'm
yeah,
thinking
yeah.
of. And you got these little dice, but it's so satisfying. Have you ever played a
It's a
duel?
nice puzzle. It's a nice puzzle. But I'll make comments to my wife like, oh yeah, I just can't afford the yellow die right now, so I'm gonna pass on that one. Or
You ever play Azul?
No, I haven't. We
Yeah,
have it, but I
that
haven't
is,
found
if you like
anyone to play it
Sagrada,
with.
Azul is the other one that everybody likes.
I'm trying to get my wife to play Role Player. Have you heard of or
I've
seen
never
Role
played role
Player?
play, and it's funny because one of my friends, when we had a board game meetup, he brought that every week, and I don't know why. I was just like, I play role playing games. I make up characters. You know what I mean? Like, let's
Hmm.
just make up a character and play a role playing game.
Yeah.
You know, so
Well,
I never saw the appeal of it.
so Role Player. It was an interesting game, but the expansion. It's one of the games that like if you're going to buy the base game, you have to buy the expansion because it's basically a dice drafting game, but you're creating a character, right? So you draft and you're a rogue and you're a charlatan, right? So you try to draft the right dice to have the right combination of strength, dexterity, charisma, and all that stuff. And if you hit those right ones, so obviously as a rogue, you want more dexterity. So if you can get 3d6 on 6 in your dexterity, you get an extra 2 victory points at the end. Like you're basically drafting dice to build a
Right. That's
character.
the premise
That's
of
the
the
whole
game
game.
is you're
Yeah.
making up a role playing
Yeah.
character. It's a dice drafting game
Right.
for.
Yeah.
So I was like,
But
let's just make up a character, you know.
but
Let's and I'll make
the
up a story.
expansion, there is a monsters expansion where you actually then once you create your character, then you actually go and fight a monster with the character that you just created for that game. So it is a little bit of like a one shot almost, but it actually makes the game like an actual complete role playing experience. Because now, if you don't draft the right dice and your rogue has 12 dexterity for some reason, how you can't use your sneak attack against this monster. So now you've got to try to get the different cards to utilize your rogue in a different. Again, it's that risk mitigation that I really like about it. So
Have you
like
ever
I
played
highly recommend if you get role player, you have to get the expansion because that it completes the
why
game.
can't I think of the it's gonna drive me nuts. I'm trying to look at the game, but I can't see it because my eyes are so bad. I can't read it. Well, you go in underground and you deck building a card game and like it's deck building, push your luck. It'll come to me as soon as we're done talking. But it's such a good game. Now I gotta ask.
Not one deck dungeon. Is it
What's
one
that?
deck dungeon?
No, it'll come to me. It'll
Okay.
come to me sooner or later. I'll just shout it out when you're talking. Do you play role playing games?
I used to. I just don't have the time anymore.
Yeah.
It's just such a commitment. Once a week, once every 2 weeks. Try to get
What
four people.
what did you play?
So we just played D&D. I learned on third edition in the early 2000s. Then we did 3.5, and then I went to college. Never really played again. Then I picked up 5e with an online campaign with my brother or my brother-in-law, who is a super D&D role-playing guy. Like he makes his own minifigs. He when he goes to the Renaissance Fair, he's like one of those dudes that like has actual knight armor that he forged
Oh
himself.
wow, that's
Like,
cool.
he is legit. He is really cool. But he plays like every week or sometimes twice a week. It's a whole event when he does it. So I played a campaign with him, or one or two campaigns on or off throughout the years. It's just such a time commitment, right? And me, I'm like you, right? Like if I'm in, I'm in,
Right.
and that's all I think about is my character. And I'm sending messages to the DM, hey, what do you think about this backstory or this element? Does that help you? And he's like, dude, I'm working right now, So, but yeah, I have not played any role playing game probably outside of some one shots in the last few years since like pre 2020 is like the last time I played an RPG.
Well, I haven't been a character in like 40 years. I'm always I'm always the game master,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's villains vigilantes. I don't play any other.
Man, I would love to play some villains and vigilante.
Yeah,
my comic shop does like consignment sales twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. And that book came up and I was like, no way. And it was $5. Like you were saying, like just $5. I'm like, hey, I got it. I sent you that picture and I was like, hey John, if you want it, I was thinking about you, but I was flipping through it and I was like, this seems like a pretty cool little system. I like, cause I've only ever played D&D. I did play one, like Norwegian role-playing game with my brother-in-law where like you just roll a d20 and it was incredibly hard. Like it's normal for players to party wipe every 5 sessions or something like that. I don't remember what it was called. It was some weird Swedish name or Norwegian name, but anyways, so as I was looking at that, I was like, if I did play a role-playing game, I want something that's not the D&D system. I think some kind of other system would be really,
villains,
really
vigilantes. I always had a problem with D&D. It's you got an 18 strength, you got an 18 endurance, and I know that they got fixes because I stopped playing it second edition. So you could have an 18 strength, and and then an 18 endurance, and that just gave you +4 hit points. And then you roll the dice, you rolled a 1.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Good job with that 18 strength. But in villains, vigilantes, if you have an 18, it's the same thing. You roll 3 dice, 6. Each number gives you a little modifier, and then you multiply all the modifiers together. So like everything, like your intelligence adds to your hit points. And then, so not only you have your hit points, you also have what's called power, and power is how tired you are. So you shoot your lightning bolt, it costs 4 power. If you run for your whole turn, it costs 2 power. Things like, if you threw more than 1 punch, so part of the game was to rate, like, okay, I got 12 ninjas over here. Am I going to take them out all at once? But then the master ninja, I'm going to be exhausted. Like you got a plan like that. Or if I take them out one by one, then they can plank me.
That exhaustion system is what D&D needs or needs to figure out, because I hear it all the time. It's like, well, I hit you with my sword, and it's like you did 1 damage, and it's like, how do you do 1 damage with you're stabbing someone with a sword? It's a piercing weapon, right? And it's like, how do you do 1 damage? It's like, well, you got to kind of like figure out like maybe you just sideswipe the armor and you actually just slice them. You didn't like poke them in the torso, but maybe you like glided off a piece of armor. Maybe you cut them in the, that's 1 damage. Or maybe it's just not exhaustion. Like I think we even played a campaign where your hit points were exhaustion until like your final 5, and then you're actually taking physical damage.
Right. Yeah.
And
that's
so,
what we used to. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like that system there with that. But again, it's just a time sink, and I'm already sunk into not just comics, right, but also this trading card game, and then. You always need to have a creative outlet. And when I was playing the game and reading the comics, I like talking with people about it, but I was like, I want to go back to making content. I run a creative agency, and so like I have other people make graphics and websites and stuff now. I don't do anything but just stare at a project management system all day. So it's nice to get my hands dirty and like edit videos again, see what's out there with AI and what you can do with that as far as like, transcribing automatically your video and then making cuts based on the words instead of the actual timeline of the video. It's been a lot of fun to have that creative outlet, and it also, keeps me honest. So it's something productive, right? So I don't just laze around all day, but it's like I'm thinking about I'm using my brain a little bit more.
I think people should be more creative, whether it's woodworking,
like, everyone needs a creative outlet.
Something creative, it really is helpful. Like anybody who's miserable and bored, just go do something creative. And a lot of people are embarrassed. What if I'm no good at it?
Yeah.
So what? Then good.
That's the fun of it. That's the fun of it, is making it a little bit better, one day at a time. That's
find
all
out what you're good at.
It's like this whole setup that I have. I didn't start with a ring light. I didn't start with a Sony camera. I didn't start with this mic. I mean, you go back and watch my first video, not on American Texan. This is my 3rd YouTube channel, but you go back and watch my first video. On a channel that we grew over 20,000 subscribers. I had help, but it was a partnership. But I mean, we had a lot of people watching that channel.
Oh, wow.
My very first video, you can see an exercise bike and my curtains in the background. Like that was my very first video. And I was like 300 pounds overweight. I was like big old white. I was using the ambient light on my desktop to light my face. It was just awful. It's embarrassing, but that's the hardest part.
My first video was just me putting a comic book right over there on the edge of the counter and whispering into my phone and talking about Marvel Team Up 92. And my friend Paul said, "Your channel sucks."
yeah. Who wants to watch this? Yeah, so I did the same. I didn't want to use my face, and I was just standing over and just, showing the comics, talking about the comics. And you were a large inspiration because I was just like, John just talks about comics. I'm just going to talk about comics. And you talk about comics and board games and all that stuff. So I just talked about Wonders of the First and comics and whatever else I wanted to talk about. And I was messaging, me and Wes were talking from Thinking Critical. And I do a lot of comments on his Patreon video. I subscribe and I do a lot of comments on his videos. And he's like, yeah, let me take a look at your YouTube channel. And he gave me some advice. And he's like, look, shorter videos, more concise content. Don't split your audience. Because I had two wildly different audiences with trading cards, which are more collectible, and comics, which I'm not talking about collecting. I think collecting has become a stain on comics. Really, I want to talk about the stories. And so, like, I had to split the channel, so I had to restart American Texan Reads, which was the new channel for comics only. But he gave me a lot of advice, and so I've just been following that advice. And
yeah, he invited me on channel. He's a cool guy,
Oh yeah, he's awesome. Your episode that you went on the Saturday morning show was one of the best. I mean, I'm not saying that because I'm here. I'm like, when I heard you were on that show, I was like, I have to watch this live. That was a lot of fun because your stuff, John. Like that's the other thing. Like you were talking about your friend who just happened to read the best Batman book and became a Batman expert on those 4 issues. I think there's a lot of comic books readers, and especially the folks on X. I'm talking about that just know everything about Batman.
I try not to get involved in drama, but
yeah.
Dixon's not a legend. It's like, because you started reading comic books in 2015.
Yeah. I've never read it. If he was so good, he'd be writing Batman right now.
It's just like, okay, he's not a legend just because you never heard of him. That was literally what he said. If he was a legend, I would have heard of him. Well, when did you start? I mean, Chuck Dixon has been out of mainstream comics for 20 years. So I don't fault anybody for not knowing him.
Right. Yeah.
The arrogance of it is like, okay,
that's it.
I listed all of his credentials.
It's like the guy that does keto and loses 10 pounds, and all of a sudden you eat a waffle in front of him, and he just gives you that look. You know what you're eating right now? Oh, it's like, take it easy, dude. You lost 10 pounds. Okay. But anyways, all that said, I just wanted to have a channel where I could I hate saying this because it's so cheesy, but be the change you want to see. But I wanted to have a channel that was about the stuff that I wanted to listen to. And there are a few of them, right? Like your Sunday comic shows, your comic book team up, you're talking about the characters and their stories. Wes obviously has videos covering, modern books. Wakasahashi's Tea House, I can never say that right, is a great channel that talks about what they're reading right now. Weird Science, if you can stand Jim. You can't stand me. I'll put comments rating his episodes, and he just doesn't like he doesn't like that. But those are all guys that talk about those stories, and I really like them. The Comic Book University is another one that I discovered where he talks about the stories and what he likes and doesn't like, and it's like, I just want to share this out there. And if there's anyone like me that reads these books and has no one to talk about it with, let's talk about it in the comments. And sometimes people do. So that's a lot of fun, and just gives me a reason to not just veg out and pass out on the couch reading comics, but it's like, read it, share it, talk about it. It makes me a better comic book reader because I'm not catching everything. And so I talk about it, and then people are like, hey, did you miss this? Or this is actually what that meant. And it makes me a better reader, and I enjoy the craft even more. So it's really good. And then of course, listening to you guys, I learned to pick up the old books by Chuck and Mike Barron. I started collecting Mike Barron's Punisher. That's a lot of fun when that comes through my comic shop. I'll buy it up. I'm trying to get a full collection of 80s Punisher by Barron. And so, yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of fun to do this, and it is a creative outlet at the end of the day. But also I want to share the hobby with others. There's dozens of us still reading floppies.
They talk sports all day long, and I'm not into sports. So I came home and I just wanted to talk comics. It was during COVID and everybody's sitting at home. So I was like, I thought I was going to have like 5 people that I would end up just talking about comic books with 5 people. So I didn't think it was going to turn into this. I still have less than 2,000 subscribers,
Well, listen, I had, when I first started doing stuff on, when I first started building a business, that's what it was. My first business, which collapsed horribly. But I had 7 Instagram followers. And at the time, that was like the thing, right? You got to grow your Instagram. You got to grow your Instagram. You got to get followers. And I told someone at a conference, I was like, yeah, I got 7 Instagram subscribers or followers. And he's like, that's huge. I'm like, it's only 7. This guy has like 70,000 or whatever. And he told me something I'll never forget. And I always look at it now because I got 55 subscribers, and the same holds true with these guys as I'm sure it does with your few hundred, John. he said at the time 7 Instagram subscribers. He said, imagine those 7 people on a bus, and that bus careens off a bridge and goes into a lake. Would you be sad that that happened to those 7 people? I'd be like, of course, right? And he's like, that's 7 people who care about you even
Yeah.
more, because I just told you a story about them, but they're actually watching your videos. They liked your videos, or following your images or whatever I was doing on Instagram. And he's like, that's 7 human beings. That's 7 souls that actually care about you enough to want to come back. And I'm like, that is huge. So on the I have 2 channels now. American Texan Plays, which is about the trading card game and trading cards a little bit in general. We just passed 200 subscribers on that. And then American Texan Reads, which is about the comics. We just passed 50, might be up to 55. And it's like every single one of them. I try not to say it every video, but maybe I should. It's like your time and attention just mean the world to me. Every single one of them that want to listen to this old man, I say old man, but this guy, talk about comics and share the comics, and then they comment with their thoughts, or, and they're meaningful thoughts. I mean, these guys are people that are reading the books, are actually genuinely curious. I'll get recommendations. Hey, you like this Superman book? Check out this Superman book. And I add it to my list, and I'll go check out the comic shop next Wednesday to see if they have it. It's been a lot of fun. And it is such a blessing that we live in a time like this where we can share the hobby with so many people.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I remember for the first 2 years of my channel, I actually had like the phone numbers of like my 20 people that were constantly like, we would send text message. It was almost like, why bother making videos? I got 20 friends. That's all I really wanted. And then it was RJ from the Fourth Age. I started commenting in his videos, and I just said, he asked, how many comic books do you have? And I said 50,000. He was like, really? So he started watching my channel, and I was, at the time I was building my comic book group. So he watched a couple of videos of that. And then, he's like, we just started talking offline. And next thing you know, through him, he talked to Chuck Dixon. So then I was like, oh, do you mind if I ask Chuck Dixon? I didn't want to step on his toes. He's like, yeah. And then I talked to Mike Barron, and man, I was so nervous. Watch my first talk with Mike Barron. I was like Cindy Brady.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, sir. No, sir. I'm surprised he ever. And then he just text messaged me, happy birthday, John. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
Wow. Chuck, Mike Barron just said happy birthday to me. He called me up to give me advice on my comic book. It's so freaking cool. So I'm as happy as could be.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, these guys are, they want to see the platform win. They want to see young creators win. I think that's awesome. And Mike's a stand-up guy. He actually, my LCS owner, I think, did some artwork or something in the 90s, and she has his number. And because I was like, hey, I'm trying to find this old Nexus strip or whatever, and she's like, well, let me text Mike and see if he has it. Because he helped her out in the 90s or whatever. So I mean, it's so cool that we get to do this, and we live in a time where like even I could just like be like, hey, I'd love to be on John's channel. Well, let me just send him a message with an idea. And we never even talked about the idea. We're talking about everything: comics, board games, role playing games, and all that stuff. So it's really cool, and I really enjoy being able to do this, but I got to wrap it up, John. I got kids, I think, that I need to get back to, and I appreciate all y'all watching this live and after the fact.
Yeah,
I'm an after the fact guy. I save all my John's Long Box videos till Sunday. That's why you see all my comments roll in on Sundays on the videos.
Cool. Yeah, and your comic will be mailed out. I thought it was because your real name. I'm not going to say it. Your real name is a memorial. I could have sworn I sent it out already. But
you've sent me a few things, because we also had a back and forth on some the coins that I was trying to get and all that stuff.
Oh, that's probably why.
Coins.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you've sent me a few things over the years, but yeah, I'm ready. Patriarch 2 comes out, or not Patriarch, but Heroic Tales 2 comes out. It's going right to the top of the pile. Usually I read my main 2 and then like the off the shelf indies from the comic shop and then the crowd funds. But when yours comes in, it's like,
cool. Thank you. Hope you like
That's going to be a card book for me. Renzo's art is insane.
Yeah,
man, that is so good.
Better.
I pulled Rome Eternal at the comic shop too, from your recommendation, and I don't know much about Rome. I'm not a Rome enthusiast like you are, but man, the art is just something. He's amazing. He is a hidden gem. That guy.
Wait till you see the new story that he just finished. I just posted a page today on Twitter. I was like so excited I couldn't keep it in. I was like, I don't care if I spoil the whole page. Look,
all those previews that you're putting on Twitter are like just gorgeous. Like, I mean, some artists like that's their pinups, that's their covers, right? And for Renzo, like that's page 4, right? You know, or whatever it is. So I'm excited. I can't wait to get Heroic Tales 2 and then the Patriarch and the whole universe you're building. And you know, like you said, like even if it's just 50, 100 of us, 200 of us that are reading these books, hey, like let's all enjoy them together. That's what this is about. I try to tell my daughters, like, if you like something and no one else does, don't let that make it any less meaningful for you.
Yeah, it's you know, local bands. Like my friend Jimmy, he used to get mad when bands that he liked got popular, and I'm just like, now other people like good music. What's the problem with that? You know?
Yeah. You got more people to enjoy it with. You
Yeah.
know? And there is a little bit of a specialty to this band that you have. You know, I remember watching Trans-Siberian Orchestra. You know, they're huge at Christmas time.
Right.
But we saw them like early days, early, like their first or second tour. And we saw them in a little 400, 500 person venue. Like we used to have tables on the floor. It almost looked like they should be doing stand-up comedy in this venue, but we saw them perform and it was awesome. And then we saw them a few years later performing at the AT&T Stadium Center with 80,000 people, and it wasn't the same. It really wasn't. It was cool. It was different, but you know, there is something magical about getting in on something on the ground floor. That's why I love.
I'll see like a band. You know, I used to see it in CBGBs, and now they're playing a big stadium, and it's just so pretentious to be like, yeah, so I don't even say anything anymore. I'm just like, all right, let these people enjoy them. But it sounds like you're pulling rank. I saw them at CBGBs back in 1992, you know, or whatever, 86.
It's something special. You know, it's like, you know, when I got into Marvel trading cards, and it was like, there's 30 years of history in this. You know, there's 30,000 different Iron Mans and parallels. And it's like and Iron Man's the most expensive character. I can't get into that. But when I play a new game that just came out this year, you get on the ground floor and, you know, you have some of those early days to enjoy and you get to spread it to other people. There's something magical about that. And like you said, it all comes down to just be appreciative that you get to be there, you know, be appreciative that things are growing. I would love to have Heroic Tales really take off, this whole universe, and Renzo become popular for it, and all of your team really, you know, really take off and have their careers defined by this. But if not, hey, we'll just enjoy it for what it is. It's a lot of fun. But I appreciate your time again, John. I appreciate you having me on.
Anytime. You're easy to talk to. I barely had to say anything. It was great.
That's a blessing. I wish
and a curse sometimes. Would talk more. You know, my wife's been like, you talk over people all the time, so I've been trying to be quiet. This was easy. I didn't have to say anything. I love it.
I know. It's a blessing and a curse. Sometimes I just take over a conversation.
That's fine.
I appreciate that. Now, we only talked about my reading comics from 2012 to about 2016. If you want to talk about it some other time, if you have a guest cancel or whatever, we can talk about how I kind of came back into comics thanks to Ultimate Spider-Man launching at the end of 2023 and Rippaverse. Eric, launching Rippaverse kind of like reignited, like, oh, wow, see, I like comics. I've been reading comics for a while. I'm
getting a little nervous because like I feel like I dropped out of comics in 2015 and I feel like my stuff is less and less relevant. Like the indie scene, I'm way into it. Like, you know, crowdfunded comics and you know, I just call that all the indie scene now. But like mainstream comics, like if I'm on Yellow Flash or Thinking Critical, I got nothing to say. You know what I mean? Like what do you think about Absolute Batman? Don't read it. Oh, what did you think about the new whatever? Didn't read it. You know, like, why are you on this channel? I don't know. You invited me.
Hey, you still had some insights for that show.
Yeah,
so
I just kind of, and plus when there's a panel of people, I don't want to be rude, and then my wife keeps saying you talk over people, so I try to wait. You got to chisel your way in. I don't like that. This is my favorite. One or two, sometimes 4 people. You know, on my channel, it's one thing I can moderate everything, but I don't like going on other channels with there's 4 people, 5 people. Then you got to wait your turn.
Yeah. All right, John. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you all for watching.
Anytime you want to.
American Texan Reads. If you want to come talk comics with me.
Sure, anytime. I'll go on your channel and talk if you want. All right. Bye, everybody.